In this video, I'm going to show you how we make apple vinegar. We started off making some applesauce and apple jelly. I reserved the skins and the cores to make our apple vinegar. You can see I have a gallon glass jar here, and it is packed pretty full of the peels and the cores. I don't worry about the seeds, so there's some seeds in there as well. And you can see some of those peels, like especially the ends, they're still pretty meaty with the actual apple meat. I'm packing it in there pretty good, just about to the top of the shoulder there, you can see. Now I am just pouring our private well tap water in there just to cover it. I do not ever add any sugar when we make our apple vinegar, and it always works. So I'm just pushing it down. I want to make sure that the apple peels and cores stay submerged under the water. I go ahead and date it. Okay, and I just put a coffee filter on it with a rubber band to hold it down. This is the next day, so day 1. And each day I just stir it as best I can. And you can see it's already starting to ferment, so there's already some bubbles coming after just one day. And since this was packed in pretty tightly, you can see the spoon doesn't want to go down very far, but that's okay because as it ages, the spoon will go down much further and it'll stir up much easier. You just want to keep the produce below the brine. And after you stir it, you always want to put that breathable coffee filter back on. This is day 2, and you can see the foam is here at the top. You can see this fermentation going on. So again, we're just going to press it down. And this is primarily just so we're helping to mix it up, to incorporate some air, and to make sure that the peels and cores stay below the brine. If your peels and cores stay below the brine, it also keeps mold from growing. And again, I do not add any sugar to our vinegars. The rubber band, you want to make sure that you get below the bottom ring of the jar. That way, if you're making vinegar in the summer or springtime, that way fruit flies cannot fly up and under it and get inside of it, okay? After you stir it each time, you always want to replace that breathable coffee filter on top or a cloth. This is day 3. You can see we're stirring it. You can also see that the spoon goes quite a bit farther down. There's much more space now as the bacteria are eating through the cores and the peels. You can also see the color of the water is starting to change. It's getting more cloudy. Now this is day 4 in the morning. And again, you can see the spoon is going down quite a bit. We're just stirring it just to incorporate some air. And this is day 4 at night. The reason I did it twice on day 4 was because on day 5 we were out of town for Thanksgiving. So I would not get it stirred that day. So here is day 6, and you can see the fermentation bubbles. You can see it's really starting to loosen up a lot more, and that spoon can really get in there and do its thing. This is why I pack it pretty tight in the beginning. I want it stronger. Day 7. Now watch this. Did you see that little bubble? If not, rewind and watch it again. About day 6, I was in the living room and I kept hearing this noise, and I went to investigate, and it was just the bubbles. Just a little fermentation just bubbling away. Day 8. Day 9. Here is day 10. Here is day 11. You can see it's not quite as foamy as it has been the previous days. While we're watching the next couple days, I want to go ahead and say that for your water that you pour over it, like I said, we just used our own private well tap water. You really need to use non-chlorinated water. So if you have city water and it has chlorine in it, or really any additives, but especially chlorine, you might want to consider buying some store-bought drinking water or spring water. Or if you can't, they say if you let water sit out on the counter overnight, uncovered, that it'll help to off-gas some chlorine. That's just what they say, so you could try it. But the chlorine can kill the good bacteria that you need to make this ferment. You saw days 12 and 13 were much less active. And you can see the apple cores and peels are sitting much closer to the bottom now. They have settled to the bottom. That is another sign that it is done with this first stage of ferment. You can see here, day 14, it is completely done. There's no more bubbles. It is ready for the next step. So now we are going to strain it. I'm just pressing the cores and peels through the strainer to get off all the excess vinegar, or soon to be vinegar. It's not quite finished yet. And I'm doing the same thing with each little batch. When you go to make vinegar, like you just saw me do, your utensils and your jar and all that stuff, it does not have to be sterilized. Just a good washing in hot soapy water is good enough, and make sure you rinse it well. Also, the bacteria that you need in order for it to ferment naturally is actually already present in the apples in this case, or whatever produce you're wanting to ferment. So do not scrub it, do not heat it up or anything that would remove the good bacteria. Okay, so we got the cores and the peels strained. Now I am using one of these reusable coffee filter things you can buy. It's like a fine mesh coffee filter, and I am just using that to more finely filter out the vinegar. And I have to get a spoon because since it's a fine mesh filter, it wants to kind of clog up. So I just get a spoon, stir it around, and you can see it almost looks like what's remaining looks like applesauce. It is not. It does not taste pleasant. Okay, so we pour into a half-gallon jar and place a coffee filter or cloth back over it and let it sit out on the counter again until it is ready. We stir it every single day. Here we are a couple weeks later, and you can see, even though I have stirred every day, you can see that it has some canned yeast on top. That is not pleasant. It does not happen all the time. I think I've only had that happen twice, but it happens sometimes. So what we're going to do is we're going to filter it with a cloth now. And you can see there on the cloth, the white little bits there, that is the canned yeast. So, and you can see in here towards the bottom of the jar, that is some of the sediment from the apples, but it's also some of the good bacteria as well. So I'm just filtering it through a cloth to catch all that canned yeast. We just got it filtered, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to test the pH of our homemade apple vinegar. I have these universal pH test strips, and you can see what the pH reading is. It is about a 2. See right there? It's about a 2.0 on the pH scale. And I've been doing this for quite some time now, a few years, and whenever I test mine, I also test it, I also compare it to store-bought apple vinegars too, including Bragg's, and mine test as low as Bragg's, if not a little bit lower. And again, I did not add any sugar. So I'm just using parchment paper right here to separate the jar from the metal lid because acidic things can eat the metal lid. You can increase the shelf life of your homemade vinegars by storing them in a swing top glass bottle and also by limiting the air exposure to the vinegar.